Mighty Jungle. You've got Craig, Timmo Timmons,
AKA
Joel
Timmo.
Spotswood, and I'm here. I'm Ryan Chipperfield. Chipper here on the end of the podcast. Boys, good to be back. Good to have you back, Joel. You've been away for a couple of weeks.
Great to be back.
Getting married and shit, having some honeymoons.
Sure did. I think I dipped my toes in a few Mighty Jungles before we left.
You did?
For those who've forgotten, I'm back.
Yeah, and the most exciting part about this Mighty Jungle, we're on camera.
Oh.
Hello to everyone
guys.
checking in on Facebook and to the Ultimate Brisbane Lions fan page. Great to have you guys around. We're going to do this every now and then, but the best way to find us is through the microphone. That's on iTunes. So the Mighty Jungle comes out every Wednesday night around 7 p.m. through the Ultimate Brisbane Lions fan page. So much appreciated those guys that have come and found us there.
Chip, good news story about Mighty Jungle this week. Most listens ever.
Yeah, highest amount of listens. So thanks to everyone that came over, and even a couple of shout outs from a couple of other Brisbane Lions fan pages and things like that too. So, you know, the word's starting to get out there. We're here for the cause, and that's to support the Brisbane Lions. And ultimately, we're raging fans just like everyone else.
And
Love doing it.
Boy, do they need it.
Yeah, big time.
They need us more than ever.
Absolutely.
What do I always say, Timmo? If you want the rainbow, you got to go through the rain.
Exactly. Couldn't be truer right now.
So, Timmo and you and I both went to the Freo game at the Gabba.
We did.
You were supposed to come and pulled out last minute.
I had a bang.
How glad, when you were curled up on the couch in a doona, how glad were you didn't go?
I was so happy. Spoke to the partner. I got a weird sense about midday that we're going to get a shot.
Something was off.
Yeah, and you know, I live down here at Hope Island, and it's about, you know, by the time we get to the Gap, it's about an hour.
Yeah.
And I just knew driving home. I think there was even, you know, a bit of overcast. It just went, something wasn't right.
It was chilly.
And, you know, about 12,000 showed up to the game.
Just under 13.
Yeah, just about 12 and a half.
And the crowd wasn't going to be right. And then the deciding factor for me was that we weren't going to be sitting together.
Yes.
So once that was kind of decided, I was like, I'm not going to go sit down and battle out with, you know, GA and trying to find you blokes. So went from there. But you got your members tickets this year.
I do, yes. So I'm in the favourite section of all time, section 11. So it's prime seating, so nice, quiet, intelligent members. But it's right on the boundary where I like to be. I like to be right near the action.
Have you got anyone that brings their own seat pads?
No. Oh, maybe. I don't know. There's a few old ducks, so they might do.
Yeah.
But I got a pretty epic sledge on Barlow. He got tackled into the fence near us, and they yelled out, "You're old, Barlow!"
Oh, snap!
And then I think he kicked the goal from the boundary. So, you know, it happens.
Yeah, decent game on the weekend.
So boys, it seems to be a recurring theme. The podcast starts on a downer.
Yeah.
Because we've been thrashed. So we thought we'd direct our fury and rage into a tight Chippa Fab 4 segment.
Yep.
And that's 4 things that we're just raging about right now. 4 things, not just ranting, but 4 things that need improvement immediately. And I'll go through them, boys, and we'll just start chatting.
And if you haven't, on the main podcast, we usually do a Fab 4. But we've actually hung up the Fab 4 this week, and we're pushing it into the Mighty Jungle. So the Fab 4, obviously, for the Brisbane Lions fans, they know all about these guys. It's Fossey.
Yep.
It's Blackie.
It is.
It's Leper. It's Slappin. Sorry.
It's Akka.
And Akka.
Yep.
So you've got the Fab 4 and those guys together. What a unity. And what we're doing each week is we're picking a topic of things that sort of gave us those 4, you know, something that embodied those 4 names.
Absolutely.
Last week we had unlucky plays. The week before we had good marks.
Yep.
So tune on over to the main podcast. That's where you hear the Fab 4 usually.
So we've got our Fab 4 pet peeves about Lions right now, or room for improvement.
I'll tell you what though, Leper wouldn't be in the Fab 4 right now, would he?
He's absolutely not.
He's not a popular man. The fan page has been after him for about 3 weeks.
Well, look, at the moment he's our coach, so he's got our full support.
100%.
But there are things we need to see improvement in. We're going to get through them now. Chip, I imagine you'll put these up on Facebook to get the guys chatting about if they agree, disagree, what else you think, so on and so forth.
We hope so.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. What's
Number
the first?
1, game plan. Take it away, Timmo.
We are shocking, absolutely shocking, for kicking down the line.
Yep.
We don't use our composure, work the ball out of the contest. We just grab it, put it on the boot, slam it down the line.
Yep.
If the opposition team's got their press set up, they grab it and then slam it straight back towards us.
The press is basically set up for that kind of play.
It is.
That's
exactly why they do
what
it.
they want you to do. And there's a few people who do it more than others. I don't know if we want to name names, but the big bomb out of a contest to another contest, and it's just coming back 3 times as fast for a turnover goal.
But it's not just in the contest as well, it's kicking out of defence.
Yeah.
You know, when we kick out of defence, we do the same thing. If we don't have a smart option on, we just look for our tallest player and we bang it to them, and they're reading that every time. 3 blokes to the contest slamming us, so
Yeah.
like to see a little bit more structure towards that.
Apart from John Freeman, no one's grabbing him overhead. And then we dropped him on the weekend.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the other thing. If you are going to bomb down the line, you need someone to clunk that contested mark, and that's probably Stefan Martin's weakest aspect of his game, contested marking. You know, he was a forward and he gave up because he's all about aerobic capacity and skills below the
outworking,
knees.
yeah.
So if we're going to kick bomb down the line to Steph, I mean, it's obviously not going to work. The other thing about game plan, boys, is we want to do the fast chain of hand passes through the middle. We want to do the running gun.
Yep.
And when it's on, it's amazing. You know, when you get Zorko, Green, Louis, the Mozzie squad, Christensen, when you get them all running through and hitting those hand passes, it's euphoric. The problem is that we're not, confident enough or we're not skilled enough to pull it off under duress. And that's the problem. When we've got no pressure and it's a turnover, we just go and it looks amazing. But teams are cottoning onto this and they're putting the pressure on, they're getting into the spaces which make us uncomfortable, and we just go to shit.
Now that we've got the visual element to the show this week, it's exciting because I can demonstrate exactly what happened about 5 times on the weekend. You've got the ball giving me a handball and I stand there and go and watch it soar over my head or 5 foot to the side of me, and I'm talking 3 metre handballs.
Yeah.
And that's what that pressure's doing to us. It's making our game cramp, and it's showing that the untalented youth, unfortunately, haven't got that skill and finesse to go to that next level yet.
Yeah, just got to get some composure.
I saw a stat, boys. Actually, I think Brisbane Lions put up on Facebook. 41 hand passes were clangers on the weekend.
Wow.
Or errors.
That's going to hurt you.
And when your game's based around quick hot fan passes to make space through the middle, it's just never going to work now, is it? And then the second problem is once the hand pass goes to the ground or goes to the opponent, we're not running 2 ways to get back. How many times did you see us turn it over and then Main, Taberner, Ballantyne, Walters just raffle it in the back 50 and maybe Merritt or Harris trying to get back and stop it?
Yep.
It's ugly. It's ugly, Chip. Number 2, player entitlement.
Hey,
Take us through it, Chip.
I'm hot on this one, Joel.
Yeah, I know you are.
Let's hear it, Chip.
Every player has to be taught lessons throughout their career, and you've got to learn the hard way. We can't teach lessons at the Brisbane Lions at the moment because we're scared. We're scared of what the consequences are. I was asking you guys off air who we will delist at the end of the year. Now, a couple of years ago, it's very clear who we're going to delist because they don't get offered contracts.
Yeah.
Every bloody player seems to be getting a contract at the moment, and you've got to dangle the carrot, and you can't sign everyone up. We've got guys that haven't played games yet; they're getting 2 and 3 year deals.
Yeah.
So it's the wrong way to go. You've got to risk losing them, and I'm really big on that because it teaches them to play for their lives. And at the moment, they're not playing for their lives. Perfect example, case in point. So frustrating, Daniel Rich.
Yeah.
He's got to go back and learn a lesson about working both ways and working through a tag. So super disappointed we can't teach that lesson to Richie. Like Gold Coast Suns did with Aaron Hall.
Yep.
They said go and work 2 ways. Our season's done, so we don't need you in the first team at the moment. And what does the rest of the team go? They go, shit, if Aaron Hall gets dropped, I'm going to have to step up and play. And they played a better game against Richmond.
I remember in Ross the Boss's first year at the Saints, about halfway through the year, dropped Nicky Dow, who at the time was probably like top 10 midfielder.
Yeah.
Just to send a message. You don't adhere to the game plan, you don't adhere to the rules I've set, you don't, I don't care what your name is. And sometimes you need to swing the axe and the big name needs to drop.
Absolutely.
And if you read between the lines in Leper's press conference, he's not too happy with a few senior players.
Completely agree. And he's doing, there's some that's good and there's some that's bad. And I think the one that for me is the most frustrating at the moment, I know you're going to agree with this, Timmo, is I believe Trent West is playing because we're worried that he will go elsewhere to look for football. That's what I honestly believe that Trent West is playing because he's been pretty good in the reserves.
I just don't get why we're playing Trent West.
And that's what I'm saying. I think he's playing because they don't want to have the hard conversation. And he would have been knocking on the coach's door going, what have I got to do to play first team footy? And I reckon Leper's gone, I don't want to have that hard conversation with the guy because he's doing everything right by the club. But the reality is, we sent home Patfull. We lost Joel Patfull, who was a servant for the club because he wanted to go in the end. So players you've got to have hard conversations with. Look at Adcock, look at Patfull. So for me, Trent West, if we've sent those guys away, we can send Trent West away.
Yeah, well, to me, West should purely be insurance. It should play in the needful. If Martin gets injured, you bring him in as support. Or if we didn't have Martin and we were playing, still had Billy Long or something like that, sure, a big body, so, we protect Billy. Martin's in the prime of his career and thrives as a sole ruck. So now we're just cutting his game in half.
Yeah, and we've got that other guy coming through, Thompson or whatever it is too. Archie's there, so, just relax.
And if you think about it, what's Trent giving us? Is he resting up forward and kicking goals?
No.
Is he dominating the tap work or around the grounds?
No,
not really. No.
Can't kick.
He's just cutting down Steph's playing time.
Yeah.
So
he's taking Steph's confidence away from him, I reckon.
Steph hasn't probably looked the same since he came back from the concussion.
Yeah, yep.
He's definitely not playing confident. Maybe they brought in West to build up that confidence, but I think it's just made it
No,
worse.
it's back
Yeah.
Number 3, boys, heart and work rate.
So, with work rate, and I saw this so many times on the weekend, we would switch. Alright, so our defence would switch, and then no one up the field would run with that switch, and then Freo would.
Yep.
So they'd read the play every time, and then we got shut down, and then we had no option but just to kick it down to the line to 3-on-1, rebound straight back in.
Yep.
So we've got to work when we're switching. Everybody's got to work to that same side of the ground, and you've got to work hard to get for that switch. Everybody's got to run for everybody on the team, and they were not doing that on the weekend.
We tried to do the switch to the guys that invented it. Freo and Hawthorn invented that switch and play. Ross and Michael Johnson used to have this like psychotic relationship where he'd just be like in Johnson's head, like now's the time, and they'd just work that back pocket and thread the ball across both ways. They were just reading us back and forth.
Yeah.
And as you said, the web or the press or whatever you want to call it would just move with it.
Some of our best footy we've played is when Pierce Hanley used to be our backline general.
100%.
And if the switch wasn't on, no big deal. I'm going to break this game open, take it on myself. I'm going to back myself to find the option. None of our back six, because Hanley's playing a bit more up the ground.
Yeah.
He's obviously, I think he's a bit injured. He doesn't look the same player. Doesn't have the same pace to burn.
But he should never be in the front half of the ground. We were saying this last week.
Yeah.
He's a back half player.
Yeah.
And what the good teams do, when they have a poor user, they get a guy like Hanley to run around the back and get that dinky handball and then steer
And
the
then
ball in
drive
that
it
direction.
forward. Yeah, exactly.
So it's switch in play, mark, bring it down to the chest, handball off to the side, and a sneaky player. And you watch the Luke Hodges do it. And you watch those guys, the backline generals that command the play.
Yep.
So I think they're actually setting up Sam Mays to be that guy. For better or worse, I'm not sure. He did look, I thought he looked
a lot
pretty
better on the
confident in
weekend.
Freo.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think the next step for him is to go from using the ball well out of the back line to demanding the footy like that way.
Playing with confidence.
Yeah, playing with confidence, running around, getting those hand passes off, and also backing himself to take on his man, win the one-on-one contest to get that sort of 2-on-1 advantage that Hanley used to give us.
Just on Sam Mays, if he doesn't sign a contract the next couple of weeks and then starts playing form again, the whole debate opens up again.
Yeah.
So I say to you, Sam Mays will sign a contract now because he's out of form. The second he plays himself into form,
We'll see what he does.
Watch this
Plus,
space.
he's South Australian. Those clubs are sharks.
Big time.
They circle instantly. We've had it with Polak, we've had it with Redden.
Yeah.
Any South Australian boy, the lure home is always there.
Yeah.
So
God knows why. Adelaide's a live in. Come on, boys.
yeah, I don't know. It's something about South Australians, you know.
It's a Barossa?
They just love going yeah, Barossa. Glenelg.
Yeah. It's a city of churches. Other religions.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's heart and work rate. Want to see more of that. Fourth one, boys. On-field leadership.
Yeah.
I had a big problem with this on the weekend. I was there live, you know, row 2, watching them live. When the chips were down, obviously the first half of the first quarter, up and running, up and about, ready to go. As soon as Freo started to figure out a game plan and put the pressure on us, everyone went to shit. And you can just see the players aren't confident enough to execute under pressure. And the problem for me is there's no on-field leadership. And that starts, you know, and I'll say his name, that starts with Rocky. And I think the problem there is Rocky's, I don't like to fault him because his work rate is second to none. You know, when a guy's getting 48 touches in a loss and some guys are getting 8 touches, you can't fault him for the fact that he works hard in this space and he wants and demands the footy. But the problem is with Rocky, his game's very individual. It's, I'm going to give you a 10-metre lead, kick it to me, and then I'll figure out what to do with it next. It's not sort of team lifting or team building. It's not ones and twos to get the players going. It's look for me and kick it to me. And you can see the players, when they lose their confidence, they're like, oh, I'll give it to Rocky because he's demanding it. Even though it's 10 metres sideways, it's 10 metres backwards, even though Rocky's got 2 players on him already. And the game just stops. And I wanted to see Rockcliffe, Hanley, Rich, I wanted to see them take the game on and get the young guys up and about again. I just didn't see that.
For those astute listeners, it'd be like if Richmond made Brandon Ellis captain. Right? That release player that literally switches around and runs wing to wing and gets a ton of ball. But does he ever get best on ground? And that's the difference. Now, Rocky has got that ability to go in and win it and get his head over the ball.
That's what I want to see more
That's
of.
exactly right. And I'd rather Rocky get 30 possessions, and all the fantasy fans will cringe out there. Who gives a shit about fantasy? We're playing to win 4 points.
Yeah.
And Rocky's got to get his head over the ball, risk suspension, risk sending a message throughout the competition that he's the toughest captain going around.
Yeah.
Watch Joel Selwood. Watch Joel Selwood every week with no fear dive into packs.
I think for Rocky, the work rate there is amazing. You can never fault the work rate. He just runs and runs all day. And he tackles all day. I think the problem for him now is it's not about can I get the footy the most in my hands. It's how do I impact the game the most?
Exactly.
And I think that's got to be more, I want to get my touches in the forward half of the ground, and I want to use he's got a pretty decent little, 25-metre pass. I want to be that entry-level pass into the back line, to the forward line, as opposed to be part of the switch because I ran hard enough to get the mark.
Yeah.
That final use into forward 50 is just so frustrating.
Yeah.
But forward running at full tilt, hands in the air, and it's still 5 metres clear of their hands.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating.
Yeah,
You roll the eyes and hit the target.
There was a few clangers, straight turnovers. It was pretty brutal to watch.
Not good. Hey, boys, I want to propose a spine to you because I think if we're going to go forward, we've got to build a spine.
Yep.
And this may piss you off because I know this guy's close to your heart and I know I want to square him up. I think Daniel Merritt has been absolutely shithouse this year. And I love the source for what he brings off field and I love the source for what he's done for our club. In a time where there hasn't been a lot of memorable stuff, he's been a memorable guy. If we got rid of Pat Full and we got rid of Adcock, this guy's got to go as well. I watched him drop a chest mark at the most important
I remember
time.
the exact chest mark.
That important time of the game where you go, mate, you're 31 years old, for Christ's sake, grip the ball. And if you're not using it well by foot, well, what are you doing out there? He double fists all the time, his spoiling's dropped off, he gets towelled up every second week. What are we doing? And we've got guys that are there ready to step up. And what I loved, even Collingwood did it today, they sent 5 kids out there that got no experience because it's about 2017. We're not going to be playing finals this year. So why aren't we putting those guys in the positions that they should play for the rest of their career? So here's my spine for you. Harris Andrews is an absolute stalwart and we love that guy. He is our fullback. I think going forward, he's our fullback. I love Dan McStay at centre half back.
100% agree.
I think that I initially wanted him at centre half forward because he's an influencer, but I now see it. He's a better user behind the ball. He's got a lot of work to do on his disposal.
A few clangers, but the thing I like about McStay is he not only defends, he then plays off his man.
Yeah.
So he'll hit the deck, pick it up, and he'll go running.
We've seen him at 152 in the flesh, boys, drinking his waters.
Yeah.
He's a rig. And that's what you want. You want a big body, hard play, like what McDonald's been doing for Melbourne, as example.
Good prototype.
He's a great sort of mould going forward, and McStay should be
and
there.
McStay's what, like 21?
Yeah.
He's going to fill out, and he's athletic. He's going to be a great centre half back.
But even Harris Andrews filled out. It's his second pre-season, and he's starting to fill out. So it's starting to come along.
And who better to coach him? Leper, probably the best centre half back in the last 100 years. He's been that good.
Absolutely.
So that's where you want your guy, and Leper can teach him how. The centre, that swings. We're going to have guys go through it, whether it's Tommy Bell, whether it's Bast, whoever, the big body to go through the centre there. That one doesn't bother me. Freeman is our centre half forward.
Okay.
I like Freeman. I really think his last month has been great. I can't believe he got dropped. I have no idea. I think he had a little bit of a problem with injury, but he's got to be out there. And at this time of this season,
he can clunk a contest mark, and we're just
what we need.
We're crying out for
That's what we need on the centre half forward line.
Cloak has been misused for Collingwood. We're going to misuse Freeman if we don't get him in the right spot. Running up, away from goal, grabbing the marks, turning the corner quickly, looking for Shaki at full forward. And that's that spine that I see going forward. Now, Josh Walker, it was great for 6 weeks. It was great for 8 weeks. Didn't really do anything. We've seen that now. Let's move on. Because we've got a season to worry about next year.
I think he'll still have a role to play going forward.
As a relief.
But he'll be the third tall. He'll be the chop out. He's not going to be a gun key forward. He never was. He was in Geelong's VFL team. And the same thing with someone like Darcy Gardner. There's a spot for you, but you'll probably be third tall. Or you'll be a versatile tall depending on matchups.
Just a couple more quick things on the list. Look, if we're serious about development, Trent West and Daniel Merritt don't play again this season. I'm really serious on that. I don't think they can play again.
Wow.
I'd love to see Paparone come in and just have one more try and then full back, sort of one of the pockets. Just playing up there, giving a bit of relief. He's a pretty good user with foot. He had 35 touches in the twos.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to him coming back.
Let's just see him one more time because he's had enough chances. Why the hell wasn't Matheson out there? That kid was amazing in the twos yet again. He's a leader. He's the player going forward. Him, Jansen, Skinner, these are the guys that have to be playing every week now, a la Collingwood, getting those guys out there.
And Matheson's staunch around the ball, which is what the Lions need.
I think it would be a good idea to give Benny Keys a miss this week. I think he's not finding himself in the game. He's getting a bit lost. Keys out for Matheson, I reckon.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to rotate the rookies on a 4 to 5 week basis.
That's right. Natural attrition of being a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. Boys, I want to ask you both a question. I'm so hot on this one, and the listeners at home wouldn't know, but I talk about this every bloody week. I'm going to call them the Go Home 7 now.
Go Home 7. Who have you added?
Because it's been a couple of additions over the last couple of years. So I'm going to call Aish a Go Homer.
And
I'm going to call Redden a Go Homer.
Who went over home?
Who went over home. He did a Mitch Clark. He really wanted to go home, but followed the money instead.
I guess Aish did too, because he was South Australia.
He was South Australian boy. So we've had a couple of those. Who's the one that hurts the most for you?
I know your answer. Mine's Elliot Yeo. I just think he could win a Brownlow. He's just got all the tools of a modern midfielder. He's tall, he's quick, good user of the foot off both sides.
Extremely
and
athletic.
Huge contested mark. He's basically like, a younger Nat 5.
Yeah.
And he really started to blossom in the last year of the Lions.
He reads the play so well.
We started him down back.
Yeah.
And I remember him doing some real good jobs on some young forwards. I remember him doing some jobs on players like Motlop, Valentine.
Yeah.
And then as he's moved to the midfield for West Coast, he's just blossomed. And he's one of the most important players now.
Absolutely.
You?
Yeah.
Who's your go home?
Same. I have to agree with Joel.
Right.
I absolutely was devastated because Yo was actually part of our 2009 comeback with Geelong. Was that 2009?
Oh, that was
Not
2012?
2012. Sorry,
Yeah.
2012.
Ash McGrath's.
Yes.
I think Yo was 12.
Yes.
It was might have been.
My bad. So I'm thinking of the
2013.
2009 Carlton final, aren't I?
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
He was part of that actual drive that got to Ash McGrath.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
ever since that point, I thought, oh man, this kid's got it.
The
And
other
then we
thing
lost
is,
him.
the other annoying thing is, we picked Yo out of obscurity. We got him picked in the 30s, and it's so frustrating for me when we get the diamond in the rough and we're so proud of ourselves and we put the work into the development and then he leaves.
Yeah,
it's
he's
just
between 20 and 30.
it's just
crushing.
crushing. Yeah.
It's he's frustrating. Boys, you know my answer, so I'm going to surprise you. Jack Redden's hurt me the most.
Oh, really?
This year, everyone goes, oh, he's not playing that well for West Coast. You forget that he makes 10 tackles a game.
Yeah.
And what's happened is with his tackles going out, a guy like Rocky gets a little bit more exposed because, that's what Rocky has to do now. He has to make more tackles and Zorko has to make more tackles because Redden would get in there, fight for the ball and then do that nice handball out and give us that clearance space. So we've lost a really key inside player and it doesn't seem like anyone else is ready to go inside yet. So that's really hurt, but you know who I'm going to say, Doherty.
Oh,
Like,
He's an out gun.
Doherty's playing good.
That's what we've been waiting for. I think we took him pick 10 or something like that.
So we're horrible users out of the back half, and here's this guy playing for Carlton who are famous for being horrible users and are now clinical down back. So Doherty's been an absolute stinker. Look, we haven't lost anything in Carnezes, thank God. He ended up retiring. Polek, meh. Yo, I think it's been a roller coaster, but you guys love riding them, so we'll see what happens.
I love the Yo coaster.
Longer, apparently he's going to fall asleep. We had an interview with David Armitage,
that was
didn't he?
He says he's always asleep.
David Armitage
hilarious.
suggested on the podcast that the guy's got a carbon monoxide leak hanging around him. He's always
actually,
asleep.
he's now number 3rd on their ruck pecking.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why he left the Lions, because he was 3rd on the depth chart. So it's
he-
unfortunate for Billy. And when he left, you know who was chasing him? Hawthorn.
Yeah,
And they got Big Boy instead. Billy went to the Saints.
Yeah.
So sliding doors,
one of those things. I think Damien Barrett should write an article about that. There you go. So sliding doors, Barrett.
bloody sliding doors.
Anyway, and the other one, obviously, Ash. He's done nothing at Collingwood, and look, he might end up hurting us eventually. He's a good player. Like as much as we, I've never seen a guy try less for a team and still look okay.
Yeah.
He was going through the motions.
I think
for
he's a
all
bit of a
the-
polished. He needs to get his head right, and he'll be a good player. He's got such good skills. Now, boys, we've been harsh on the lads. We've been harsh on the team. They don't get me wrong, they deserved it, 100%.
Yeah, it's tough.
But let's look at a silver lining. Look at the Freo game. Give someone the game ball. Who was the best player? Who put in the best effort? Who are you happy with?
You go first.
I really enjoyed, I know probably Zork was probably best on ground, but I really enjoyed what Bassanet brought to the game this week.
Yep.
I thought he played with purpose this week. He found himself. He won good football and he was there and about. So he had intensity to what he was doing. So I really enjoyed watching him.
Yep.
And I haven't seen him do that. He's done snippets, but I haven't seen him do it that consistently all season. So it was good to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine was Tommy Cutler, boys. Really liked his game. He was playing up the back line. He was doing exactly what I said the other boys weren't. He was taking the game on. And I'd rather see that than another failed switch or another hand pass from a guy in trouble because you don't want to take on the responsibility. And what I love about him is that he ran off his man and he got down there and kicked 2 goals. And he's a lovely kick when he gets onto it. The bigger body, and I can't wait till he gets his engine right to run through the midfield.
It was a blue moon game from him, wasn't it?
Yeah. He topped about 140 in fantasy.
Yeah, crazy. So he came out of nowhere, and we kind of always thought there was a chance that he could do that. It's also a chance that Harwood could eventually be that kind of player as well, because they always talk about how good a user Harwood
absolutely.
is. So there was promise there in brackets.
Yeah.
Still some clangers, but that's okay. That's how it goes in that
happen.
development phase.
Yep.
I'm not going to. It's the mayor of Brisbane, boys. It's Dane Zorko.
Gotta love him. Gotta love him.
The people that have been listening to the Mighty Jungle every week, they just think I'm hot for him, and I am.
Why wouldn't you be?
I am too.
That bloke's that
Yeah.
damn good. And
I fear for Zorko if we ever interview him live in the studio.
the sexual tension,
Yeah.
it's going to be too much
He's
for
thick.
him. He's been amazing.
Stay on the phone, Zorks.
He always checks in on how we're going, and can't thank that guy
Absolute
enough.
legend. He's in the form of his life. It's a shame it's in such a shitty season for the Lions. But it is. We need our Silver Linings as fans, and he's definitely been one of them.
Did you catch the Zorko interview when we had him on? And
wouldn't have missed it for the world.
The big fella, I said, mate, how do you rate your year? And he's going, oh, it's good.
Yeah. I mean, he did the team thing. He said,
did.
Obviously not great for the team, but
his first
we're
instinct,
pretty happy with where he's
the
at.
form's good. I love it, and that's how it should be.
Okay, boys. So let's turn our minds forward.
Yep.
We got West Coast
Yep.
at the Gabba Saturday afternoon. Look, give me what you want to see out of the guys. Don't tell me we're going to win because we want to be realistic here. Obviously, we'd love a huge upset win, but just tell me signs that you want to see on the weekend. Timmo.
This week, more than anything, I want to see a team that understands their game plan and their on-field structures, because it's the one thing in the last, especially the last month, I see a team that doesn't understand what they're trying to achieve out on the field.
Yep.
So, for me, some sort of game plan coming out in the team.
Yep.
Moving the ball forward with purpose.
So we've obviously got run sheets, but I'm going to throw one off the run sheet, and I want to involve the people at home, the ultimate Brisbane Lions fans.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this before. I can't believe how different the 2012 West Coast comeback team looks to this year. So I'd love to see the two teams side by side. So if anyone's got the capabilities on Facebook to show us a comparison about what we'd lost over that 2012 and maybe overlay the teams, I'd love to see that. So anyone on
you're
your
talking
Facebook
about
page...
Polkinghorne!
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like McGrath, Polkinghorne, all these guys,
Yeah.
Adcock. So there's been, as Leper told us at the start of the year, 35 list changes since he's been there. I actually, because I'm thinking we could do it again, optimistically.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the two teams side by side, and whether the guys at home think we're getting better or we're getting worse. So let's just have a look.
Yeah.
But,
I guess at this stage, we're obviously going to be younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been interesting to see, because at that stage, when you get to that sort of, if you're going nowhere with middle-aged players, there's no point. You might as well break down and do a rebuild again. So we're obviously in the rebuild stage now. It's yet to see if it's going to
And honestly,
come to fruition.
we all sit back and remember that game and go, that gave us what we thought was the future.
Yeah.
And here we are all these years later.
Well, the problem is we've probably had like 2 of those games a year for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
We had the Sydney game this year.
Port last year.
Yep, Bulldogs last year,
Yeah.
Port last year. We pop up now and we go, finally,
Look
breakthrough.
at the first 10 minutes of the Fremantle game.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going,
we
this is the
crushed
best
them.
day of my life.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Come
So,
out on fire.
love it.
Boys, what I want to see this week, I want to see some forward pressure. I want to see us kick it in, bring it to ground, and lock it in. And I want to see Josh Green back because he's like, for all his faults and his, the issues that he's had, he gives us good forward pressure and intensity and speed in the forward line. I was watching the boys on the weekend. I can't fault Shaki. He's a young guy at spearheading a whole team. There's a lot of responsibility for the lad.
And he's
not
great delivery.
He's not Hogan. Like, we've got to be honest. He's not
And
Hogan.
it's unfair to compare him to Hogan. Hogan was...
But it's not. Because
Hogan was supposed to be like the next Jonathan Brown.
No, I know. But he's not Hogan. I'm just going to tell the listeners at home.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like everyone thinks he's Hogan because he's that high pick. Look at Tom Boyd.
Yeah.
So it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
He's doing better than a Tom Boyd was early on.
Yeah.
But he's just not Hogan.
Yeah.
I watched Hogan today.
Yeah.
Dear God.
Yeah, he's a gun.
Like, he's
Absolute
a
gun. Uses his body and so smart with his legs. I think with Shaki is he's still such a slight lad.
Yeah.
And 10 straight games with AFL footy, he's probably hurt something chronic. He probably
with only the one rest.
Yeah, and
that's right.
I was watching our forward line set up, and I was like, if Shaki wasn't playing, I didn't even know who would be our key forward. And literally, that's it. He's coming to our team, and he's just taken the number 1 forward spot, probably way too soon than he needs to, just because we don't have any key position forwards. So I don't want to put the micro on Shaki, but Louis Taylor was playing up forward and cross half forward, and the defensive pressure was non-existent. I'm not sure about Louis Taylor. I'm not sure where his game's at right now. I think he's a really clever user of the footy, but he's doing the David Peachy.
Oh, he's running sideways so much.
He's running sideways, running circles.
The famous Cronulla Sharks
And-
fullback that used to run. He was allergic to running straight line.
2 problems I have with Louis, and I know I don't want to be too negative here, but Louis, no defensive pressure when he's up forward because he just doesn't seem to have enough pace. Second thing is no penetration in the kicks. They're loopers, and it always puts players under pressure.
I'm going to have a crack at the worst pun of the episode. You've seen the movie School of Rock?
Of course.
Louis from the School of Rockcliffe.
School of Rockcliffe.
He is all about the cheap stats, and I hate players that do that. I want players that get the stats that count.
Yeah.
And stats don't win matches.
Yeah.
So.
And Louis, he was really effective in his first year, sort of being that link man, running and kicking those goals. And I think that's because he was playing with confidence. He gets the ball now and he's just not sure of himself. So I want to see some forward pressure. Chip, what do you want to see?
Yeah, I want 2012. I want to see 2012 like intensity where your future depends on it.
Yep.
And the problem, as I said earlier on in the episode, is when you're not playing for your future, you're not playing. And if you've got that going forward, you don't know whether you're going to be there, you don't know whether the Lions want you for good, all these things. I want Daniel Rich to take this game by the fucking balls and have a name for himself again. And
he has to.
And just, even if you went back and watched tape of himself in 2009 when he won the bloody Rising Star and said, that was who I was as a player. I was a better player then than I am now. I just want players to have a look at themselves in the mirror and go, do I want to play for the Brisbane Lions or not? Am I the future of this club?
Am I the Brisbane Lions?
Yeah.
Or do I work for the Brisbane Lions?
Exactly. Take a leaf from Brendan Bolton's book. That's right. Anyway, we've spoken for a lot. Thanks to everyone that came over on the Facebook page and watched us for the first time. Look, we're not the best three-looking lads going around, but we're happy to put up with it every now and then. So if you come over and listen, obviously the best way to find us is through the podcast. We do that on iTunes each week, so you find that on the Notorious Podcast when you search on your podcast app on your iPhone. We've also got the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Notorious Podcast. So we'll be there. Joel's got a little Twitter thing going on. Same details.
Follow us on Twitter. I'm going to be tweeting up a storm.
That's right. So we've got some Twitter action there too. A lot of stuff during the games. Things like that's probably best for the Twitter guys. But I've also got the Indigenous jersey on. So we've given one of these away in the past. So, there's always giveaways on the show. We've got some guests coming up in the future. We'll always have some things going on. But love your questions and interactions on Facebook. Last week we had a great few comments come through on things like the culture and the things that we talked about. So keep those coming. And if you want to see something on the show or you want to hear something on the show, send us a message. Yeah. And if you send us a message, you're probably going to get on.
Oh, yeah.
So do that.
Live.
Absolutely. We'll do a live podcast. Yeah. That'd be fantastic. But anyway, thanks for coming on Facebook for the first time and good to see you guys joining us on here. And thanks to the guys that tuned in via iTunes. We'll see you next week.
Go Lions.
Bye for now.
Woo!